Exactly a week ago, Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque was hijacked by violence. Israeli police broke up a massive gathering of Palestinians. Clashes followed and there was no looking back. Al-Aqsa is the third holiest site in Islam after Mecca and Medina. Its wall is sacred to the Jews, the holiest site in Judaism. Its compound is central to claims over Jerusalem. Symbolic would be an understatement when describing Al-Aqsa. But no one saw this coming. How a clash at the mosque could snowball into the most intense fighting in recent years. As I speak to you tonight, Israel and Gaza are on the brink of war. It's the fifth day of fighting. 119 people have already been killed in Gaza, 8 in Israel. The skies are on fire every night. There is politics, there are protests, and promises to escalate the violence even further. WION has been reporting from Ground Zero, and tonight we have satellite images to show you to understand the extent of the destruction. This is what 5 days of airstrikes have done to Israel and Gaza. What you see now is a burning storage tank in Israel's Ashkelon. It came under a rocket attack on the 12th of May. And now what you see is Gaza City. These are satellite images of a destroyed multi-storied building. It was brought to the ground by Israeli airstrikes on the 12th of May. And finally, this is what southern Israel and Gaza look like right now. The fumes of fire can be seen from space. We have spoken to many experts and diplomats this week, and everyone, of course, is steering clear from prophesying a full-blown war. But what's happening on the ground is pointing at nothing short of it. Let's tell you what happened last night, the intervening night of May 13th and 14th. A large barrage of rockets was fired from Gaza. Israel said it responded with airstrikes. At least 160 fighter jets were roped in, as were tanks, ground forces, artillery and armored troops. Gaza was bombarded in an overnight operation. The fireballs turned the sky orange. The Israeli army released satellite videos. It claims to have struck Hamas's tunnel network system, also a rocket launching site. That's not all. Israel admitted to having entered Gaza during the course of this operation, but now Israel maintains that there are no ground troops in Gaza at the moment. Here's something that Israel was not prepared for. At least 3 rockets were fired into its territory from Lebanon. Israel says these rockets fell into the Mediterranean. No damage was done, and that the Iron Dome system was not activated. But who fired these rockets? It's unclear, say Lebanese officials. Well, here's something that's very clear. This conflict has already begun pulling in more active players. As we speak, Israeli troops have been deployed along its border with Gaza. Visuals of a build-up are being beamed the world over. Is the international community doing anything to stop another war? Egypt says it is trying to mediate. Egyptian negotiators have held in-person talks with both sides. The United Nations Secretary General has called for a cessation of hostilities. The Security Council is expected to meet on Sunday. The United States has expressed concern while also underlining Israel's right to defend itself. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says Israel has crossed all lines. And from Kenya to Bangladesh, there are protests around the world, mostly against Israel. In case you were looking to travel, here's an update. International airlines, including KLM, Lufthansa and British Airways, have cancelled several flights to West Asia. What does the situation on the ground look like? In Gaza, mass funerals are being held. Israel says most of those killed in Gaza were Hamas terrorists. But the locals have a different story to tell.
My brother Rafat was present. May God have mercy on him, his wife and 4 children. There was no warning or anything. 5 rockets on the floors. It broke them up. His wife was actually pregnant.
At least 27 children have died so far. Several others are critical. Hospitals have been overrun. They're functioning with less than 8 hours of electricity a day. Doctors say 50% of those being brought in with injuries are critical. In Israel, there's a threat of civil war. There are reports of fierce clashes between Jewish and Arab mobs. Shops, hotels and cars have been damaged. Israel, remember, has a 21% Arab population. Visuals coming in from Israel show police in riot gear patrolling Jewish Arab towns. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is describing the situation as a campaign on 2 fronts. One in Gaza, the other is Israeli cities. To contain the crisis at home, Netanyahu has declared an emergency. As for Gaza, he says, and I'm quoting, Israeli military operations will continue for as long as necessary.
We would extract a very heavy price from Hamas and the other terrorist organizations. We are doing so, and we will continue to do so with great force. The last word has not been said, and this operation will continue as long as necessary in order to restore the quiet and security to the state of Israel.
Hamas on its part says bombing Israeli cities is easier than drinking water. Imagine that. I'm quoting from a video posted by a Hamas spokesperson on Thursday. Now, I want to remind you that 127 lives have been lost in this fighting so far. So who exactly is this operation helping? And think about it before you pick sides. Because like every conflict, this time too, it's the people who seem to be the clear losers. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.